Hey, what's up? Well, I'm back again, and I might want to postpone this unboxing until my birthday, which is, oh my gosh, it's in less than a month or so. Oh my goodness. So, while I'm 40, unfortunately, while making this, I will be 41 perhaps when it actually gets posted, because I don't want to have my videos too close together. I'm trying to spread the wealth, from May to June and July. And I feel like we've come full circle. I've spent the whole past year sort of rekindling my obsession with colds to try to get me out of the obsession with the other thing that I've done a good job every year of talking less about. Okay? And, so I want to unbox two packages. One of them is in a nice red envelope, which I'm not going to show you the label. And another one is in a different envelope. And what's special about it is that the buyer and the seller both live in the same state, though hundreds of miles away. So, anyway, it's just amazing. I've spent a whole year just talking interjecting a speech about colds into every video, and it's amazing how I've just never really grown tired of doing that. From last July to almost June. Oh my gosh. So we're back to the summer, and I'm pretty sure I've only had one clinical cold in February around Mardi Gras. May have had a subclinical one in September, but I'm not counting that one, not just because I don't like the thought of having multiple colds in a year of adulthood, but, well, it just really wasn't much. I don't know. And that's why, I say that I had like almost 5 colds in high school, almost 3 colds in college, and almost 1 after graduating college. Really, or almost 7 in junior high. I should begin with that. Almost 7, almost 5, almost 3, almost 1. Well, if you counted the subclinical ones, it's probably an average that rounds upward to those numbers. So, like, in a typical year of college, I might have 2 clinical colds and a mild subclinical one on average. And subclinical is when you have the sore throat and it's just as bad as, any other cold, but then it kind of fizzles out and you don't really have that much nasal congestion, or, you don't have a lot of the other symptoms. You just take aspirin and, it pretty much clears up any feeling bad you might have. That's a subclinical cold. And I think, in retrospect, that a lot of times you'll get a subclinical one and then a clinical one not long after that. Or at least that's what happened. The first time I remember that happening was in junior high. And, it was like, mid-April of 97, I had what I now know to be a subclinical cold, because a lot of people in my class were sick, and I clearly was exposed, and I was one of the few people that were not sick. And so I started having a sore throat one night, and I was just 100% or 99% positive that I was getting sick. And then I woke up the next day, and when the sore throat was gone, it wasn't really much of anything except a frog in my throat. And wasn't all stopped up, wasn't feverish. But then a few weeks later, I got that most well-remembered one, May 1st, 1997. That's when I started coming down with it, and that one truly was clinical. So I guess you could say I had 4.5 colds in the 7th grade. So that was my average. That would become my average number in high school. And I think I had 2.5, or like 2 bad ones and a mild one my senior year of high school, my best year. And guess what would become my average in college? about 2 to 3 colds. And so, you know, it just was a pattern that started, you know, my record low would become my new average. And so, yeah, the only 2 months that I certainly haven't had one, well, since I became obsessed with them, the 2 months of June and July. I've never had one on my birthday in June. Never had one on the 4th of July that I can ever remember. And that's because the school year is not in session. You know, it isn't because of the weather. It's because school is not in. That's the difference between July and August and between May and June is school. So anyway, without further ado, I'd like to unbox these packages. Package number 1, let's do the red one first, because I'm probably the most excited about this one, and you'll understand why once I get it open. I'm just going to cut it very cleanly. If I could ever, I don't understand these stupid packages. Hold on. They make them so stupid. And then once you get the package open, then you have to unbox it and unwrap it. But what have we here? But a hollow body Ken doll. Remember I was complaining about how they don't have enough cheap made boys, you know? Now granted, this was from a while back. This was from 1985 when I was only 2 years old. See the similarities in our hairdo? This was 1985. Some company made a cheaper version of a Ken doll. And yes, he has a thing of sorts. But they made this cheap-made Ken. And there aren't a whole lot of cheap-made Kens. And they certainly, not a lot that have lasted very long. And so that's why they actually go for more than if you bought a Mattel brand, a name brand Ken from Walmart by Mattel. You could pay a lot less money than a vintage hollow cheap made Ken. And that's why, because they're so rare. You know, because they just didn't really need knockoff Ken dolls. There was just no market for male dolls. And what's special about him is, if I had another Ken doll, you'd see that he's slightly shorter than a Ken doll. You know, he's not by much, but like maybe 11.5 instead of 11 3/4, something like that. So that he'd only be about 5'5" or 5'6", where a regular Ken is like about 5'10", 5'11" or so. So that's what makes him special. He's a short, cheap-made Ken, which I just wish they had more of them. And what I really wish, you know, I'll have to bring my few hollow little boy dolls one day and show them. I wish they would, what I really wish they would do is make like a bunch of cheap-made hollow-bodied male dolls in various sizes. You know, beginning with a Tommy clone or, you know, Darren or whatnot, the little bitty boy, that they'd have increments of about 1 inch. You know, this is my dream. Here I am just pipe dreaming. And that they would make, like, younger-looking dolls that would be like, you know, instead of, say, 11.5 inches, you'd have a 9.5 inch doll with a less muscular body, but a head about that size, and the hairdo. And then you'd have maybe a 7.5 inch, like a cheap knockoff Stacy size doll. And then you'd have 5.5 inch, which would be the knockoff Darren. And then you'd have like about 4 inches, and that's your knockoff Tommy. But I do have similar dolls. It's just that, you know, I'll have to show them one day, but the great lengths I've had to go through to have them is just unbelievable. You know, basically, if they're younger than, if they're younger boy dolls, they're basically almost always girls that I've converted into boys. And while I am somewhat proud of the result, I'm not proud of the fact that I felt the need to do that. So anyway, knockoff Ken. And the other thing, a package from my state. Let's see what it is. Let's see what it is. It is none other than a hollow craft doll with a dress, with a note that says thank you. See, I have a blonde and a brown haired Native American, so this will go with my collection of hollow craft dolls. The size of Stacy, and what makes them special is, like I've stated before, they're the size of Stacy. I just wish that there would be, well, what I really wish is that there would be, I actually wish there could be one in between, like about an 8.5 inch, like you'd have 7.5, 8.5, then 9.5. You know, like somewhere, something to bridge the gap between Stacy size and Skipper size. You know, something, and by that I mean like 90 Stacy and 60 Skipper. So somewhere in between, like, I guess that would be about the height of, well, there's been a few dolls about that height. I'll have to show them, but, you know, kind of a rarely ever seen height, kind of about the height of those superheroes that are on a 1/8 or 1/9 scale, only they're supposed to be like adults on a smaller scale as opposed to like children in between the age of Stacy and Skipper, however old that would be. But I just wish that you know, there'd be more variety and cheaper made dolls instead of having to buy dolls that are top of the line or Mattel or extremely rare. So anyway, I'm very pleased. I'm going to put that dress on her. The dress and the doll were from the same seller, 2 different listings, and I'm very pleased with this. And I'll go ahead and post this video.